Hello, this is John Goodwin, your host. Today, we're traveling to South Australia, to Adelaide, to speak with Writers of the Future 26 winner for his story, The House of Nameless, Jason Fischer. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, like we said when we were setting up for this interview, when I saw the post on social media about yourself with Spectrum Writing, I really wanted to have an opportunity to speak with you. But before we get into that, I'd like to just come forward from when you walked out of our fourth floor to take your ride to the airport back in 2010, when you had just left from the Writers of the Future workshop that week. So you just, we'd finished off the award ceremony and you'd been published now in the House of Nameless. So kind of bring us forward a little bit to what's happened to you as a writer since then.
Lots of wonderful things. That was just an amazing start to my journey. I was so just amazed at everything that happened at Writers of the Future. Best week of my life. And I left there just determined to keep going with that momentum. It really gave me a good kickstart to continue my own work. And, I ended up working on lots and lots of short fiction. I've won a couple of awards since then, other awards like with the Australian Horror Writers Association, lots of short pieces. Probably the best one was a novella that I wrote called Defy the Grey Kings, which was on Beneath Ceaseless Skies. It's been printed on the podcast, and it ended up getting me an Aurealis Award, which is Australia's equivalent of the Hugos.
Which is great.
That was for best fantasy novella, which was the first time that award had been run. So that was a really great moment. There's been, it was some really good momentum. And, during the workshop, I don't know if I want to speak out of school and give away one of Kevin J. Anderson's anecdotes.
It's totally fine. We like to do that. Yeah. Popcorn is a great topic.
Okay, cool. It's such a good thing. I've recycled it. With people I've spoken to, his popcorn theory is just, throw all the kernels in the pot and just see what pops. And, that was probably one of the things that I took out of the workshop that really applied to my situation. I just tried everything. And I recommend anyone do that. You just try everything that comes across. And, I ended up working on comics. I've written for an app. I've written, for television now, which I've had a show optioned. I've had, just little bits of everything, and novels, of course. And I've ended up doing my own. I've had a novel published, and I've started my own imprint with another friend of mine. We're self-publishing a lot of work, so it's just great to be creative and have a creative life. And I just give eternal thanks to you guys for the start that the great start I had in my own career. It was great.
That's great. Was there any particular? And the workshop itself, I've been doing this with past winners. I've been talking to any of the essays that you read that stand out for you, or that made some of the, you told me about the Kevin popcorn data, but anything in the, from the essays that you read that stand out as like, wow, this was really helpful for me on my writing style, or on how to proceed on making a career with writing?
Yeah, I definitely remember one essay that stood out for me, and this came from L. Ron Hubbard's own career as an amazing pulp fiction writer. That it was you don't have to spend time making something like super duper perfect. It just has to be like great. A good thing will get out there, and it'll sell. It'll find readers.
Right.
I can't remember the name of the essay, but the gist of it that I took from it was that you've got to be a professional, and you're a working writer. So that was a really good lesson for me.
Yeah, there was one. Maybe that's the Manuscript Factory, because it really goes into. He worked out also the different genres. How he worked out to make the most money for what you're writing. It's already established you have a love for writing, but if you can write something, if your career as a writer, you're going to sell more and survive with it. That maybe is what.
Yeah, I think that was the one. I definitely remember that one. Even all these years later, it stuck with me as a lesson. I thought that was. You're a small business, and we've all been small businesses right back since people writing for newspapers and in the salons and whatever.
Yeah,
We've all it's a gig economy even back then, and you've got to give yourself the best chance.
that's right.
And I think that's a great life lesson that we learned in the workshop. It's really stuck with me. The other thing I really loved was the exercise, which I won't give away too much because I know it's a bit of a tradition. But part of that was the story about how he got onto a Coast Guard ship.
Yeah.
I remember that story. Great. I don't know how much luck you would have with that now with the security of the world the way it is now. Of just strolling onto a Coast Guard ship and having a chat. But as a life lesson, it's just like, you don't, if you don't ask, you don't know. But be enthusiastic about your research and your career, and chat to anyone that's an expert in the topic that you want to know about. And they say, write what you know, and if you don't know it, make an effort to know it, kind of thing. So there are lots of just great lessons. It took away a lot of good stuff, and just some great people that were there too.
Yeah,
it was a good experience.
Yeah, just recently, at the World Fantasy Con, I was there and I did an interview with Lori Tom. She was another first place winner
awesome.
With your same year. So it was great seeing her again.
She's good people.
She definitely is. So what's it like now in Australia, the whole field of science fiction or speculative fiction?
Yeah, it's it's always been we're of course a much smaller community than in the States, but
right.
There's a lot of great stuff going on here, and there's the people that are productive and working, like they just work like the dickens over here, and there's a lot of fun stuff being done. Everyone, it's just the great sense of camaraderie and fun about the whole thing. There's do
you know Kat Sparks?
Yeah. Oh, I love Kat. She's a good mate. We had there was a story I had in an anthology that came out last year, and it was a War of the Worlds anthology.
Yeah.
So this was a small press publisher here, did a War of the Worlds stories, but set in Australia. And my story was about 50-meter tall snails terraforming the Australian deserts. And she was at the launch, and she spent most of the launch talking about my story. I was just like, I love you, Kat. You're so good.
Yeah, no, because she was a winner. What, a few years before you? She was up when we were in Seattle. She was at that awards event there, I think. And Sean Williams, who's got an essay in the upcoming volume 36 of Writers of the Future, he was the one that presented to her at that awards event in Seattle. And
that's so lovely because we all know each other. So
yeah, no, it's
very
good.
Small.
And then Sean Tan also was a winner from way back.
He's tough. He's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
He's such a amazing artist.
Yeah, he's
it's as an interesting anecdote, I found a very old issue of Aurealis magazine. So this is the main sort of Australian magazine. This is like issue number 2, I think. So it was like very, very early on in their history.
right.
And he put an ad out in the classifieds of that. Oh yeah, if you need some artwork done, give me a call. And he doesn't need to do that now.
Definitely not. So it's great down there in Australia to see so many, at least the people that I know, are just real good people. Like yourself, Kat, Sean, both Seans, Sean Tan and Sean Williams, and the connection with the Writers and Illustrators of the Future contests, that's had that effect there. And I'm hoping that with this interview that we're doing here, more people will become aware of the contest and know that they too can enter the contest. It's free to enter. And one thing I didn't tell you, for the Illustrators contest, we have our first winners this year from Turkey and from Iran. So we're truly international in scope.
That's amazing.
Yes. Now, another thing that's amazing, I'm going to do this as a little bridge over now, is Spectrum Writing Adelaide. So you do that with your wife, Kate, and you were married to Kate when you won the award, correct?
Yes, that's right. So we just had our first child. So she was a very young baby when I won that award. We've got another one now, and we're busier than ever. And the Spectrum Writing itself, we're just it's such a wonderful thing that I think we're doing, and it's come about from a lot of my work mentoring other writers. So I've sort of taken my skills I've learned in the last 10 to 15 years and passing that on to other people. And I've had a lot of great experiences. One of the people I mentored went on to write a Captain America novel, which is both amazing for David McDonald. I'll give him a shout out. He's a fellow Aussie.
Uh-huh.
Also made me insanely jealous. I'm like, how did you land that gig? But right place, right time. But that was he's sort of the biggest of my inherited success stories.
Your protege. He's your protege.
Yeah, he's a protege. But he's just amazing in his own right, and he's wonderful to work with. But I've worked with a lot of great people, and they've started. And it's still a lot of my bread and butter. And in fact, I've gone part-time at my day job to do more mentoring, writing workshops, teaching at schools, that sort of thing, which is growing from strength to strength. And I've worked with a lot of young people on the autism spectrum, which is becoming more recognised now. I am on it, as is my son, so it's a very sort of personal matter to me, but I think it's a superpower. It really helps people... great imaginations. It's just a different layout of the brain, I believe.
Yeah.
So I've been able to sort of help one young fellow that I've been mentoring, and he'd only ever shown his writing to his granddad. And he was, very sort of difficult with the social skills and, lovely young man, but he sort of struggled to sort of focus his amazing ideas into a, coherent story.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what we worked on. Together we were working together for about a year, and we got his first short story published. And that was just a beautiful moment to be able to get this fella to corral his amazing energy and enthusiasm into a concrete product, which as a working writer, that's what we aim for. And he got his story published, which was amazing. And that just made me want to help as many people as I could. So my wife, being an amazing business-minded lady, she's a bit of a muggle with the creativity world, so she's not creative. She is a muggle with using Hogwarts analogies. So it's not her thing. But her thing is helping people, and coming up with ways of organising. Me as a creative person, I'm very disorganised in the real world. And so, she's the one that's got the whiteboards and the business plan, and, we've got the liability insurance and all of the boring business stuff that we have to make happen. And we've got a lot of, we only started it a couple of weeks ago officially, but we've already got tremendous interest, and even from other states in Australia. And the program will be to help people on the autism spectrum, realise their professional creative writing dreams.
Now, is this a global program? Because I noticed that it was spectrumwriting.com.au. So is this, you've created this, or is this a spectrumwriting.com also in UK and in AF? And
that would be amazing. No, we're starting local and hoping to spread it out as far as I can. A lot of the mentoring side of things can be done over email. So I would take anyone from anywhere who wants to learn to write. With my background as a writer with autism, I am so happy to help anyone. So in physical terms, like we have physical workshops in Adelaide, South Australia, but interest from eastern states as well, like Victoria, etc. So we're hoping to grow it and help as many people as we can. Realise that you're on the page, we're all the same is the motto. Is that you might find it hard to talk to someone or meet their eyes, with the social skill deficit, but on the page you're the same as anyone else. You've got the chance to edit your work as good as you can. It's a lesson for anyone really, is that as a writer you get endless do-overs, until up to the moment you hit send.
Yeah. Well,
then it's done. You got.
That's just so awesome what you're doing with this program, to be able to provide this. Yeah,
it's just an amazing thing that anyone who wants to be a storyteller should have that opportunity, I believe. And it's something you guys do tremendously. Is push that message out to the world is, give it a go, be a storyteller. It's wonderful. That's, after this, I'm going to go teach a group of, after this interview, I'm going to go teach a group of teenage writers in Adelaide, who the Writers SA. And one of the projects I've set for them is to do their own book. And that was literally all I gave them. I said, guys, you're going to make a book. Everything else is up to you. Off you go. And, sort of like guiding them as they go. And it was amazing to see these guys just corral their creative energy. And give a bunch of teenagers anything that's, mixed chances as to whether it'll happen or not. But these guys, they've said, all right, and they've come up with this really amazing shared universe with a shared protagonist, and it's sort of equal parts Quantum Leap and, Touched by an Angel, I suppose, is, for want of a better term, these sort of people that, these beings that jump into a body and come into a situation and resolve that situation, and then they leave. Classic stranger comes to town scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So with that broadest of outlines, they've managed to build this sort of shared universe. And we've got, the table of contents put together already. And, these guys are great, going great guns. So it's just, you don't have to give people much to get them to, come to the party creatively. You just got to set them on their way and off they go.
and acknowledge the fact that their creativity is okay.
Absolutely. And, that's the thing that, they, much like my friend who will only show his grandpa his stories, is that, you're, the difference between you and, J.K. Rowling is, she never gave up and she got her stuff out there. It's just, that's the secret, is you just got to, keep at it until you get somewhere.
And that's something
takes
that's
some people longer than others.
Yeah, and that's one continuous message. We've done we've done many, many interviews with this Writers of the Future podcast, and that's pretty much a universal theme is don't give up. Keep on keeping on. And all the past winners, sometimes a person out there who's not been published has the idea, these guys made it. J.K. Rowling, you mentioned her, but, Kevin Anderson, he boasted he's got the record on the biggest box of reject slips of anybody in the world. People don't realize that.
So amazing. He's just a model writer for anyone. Just the sheer persistence and, just positive energy he gives to the world. He's a great man. Great man.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And that's like you've said before about, the contest being an inspiration for people to, don't give up, keep going, give it a go. Is that, and I'm sure many winners have given you the same kind of story that, I entered Writers of the Future for, it was about 2 or 3 years every quarter.
Yeah.
And had, honourable mentions, semi-finalists, finalists a couple of times, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And, just didn't, and that was a spur for me to keep going. And the good result was that even the ones that weren't winning stories that still, got a certificate or what have you, you can then sell elsewhere. They're good stories if they've made it that far. I can't remember what the percentages are of the, where the certificates and mentions, etc. come. But, if you've got, some recognition from Writers of the Future, it's good enough to send to a market.
Yeah, we get that quite frequently now, that anybody that now gets, if they're an audible mention and they shop it out again, if they put that in their pitch letter, it will usually get bought because this field is so huge that submit to Writers of the Future that if someone's in that top very, very small percentile, that they know that if Writers of the Future says that you're an audible mention, then you're good. If you're a winner, obviously you rock. But it's really good. Now, one of the key audience for this particular interview is going to be to an aspiring writer or an aspiring artist who is somehow or another classified as some greater or lesser degree of disability. And I'd like to address that a bit more because Writers of the Future, all the judges will see is the story or the artwork. They have no idea of anything else about you. And so if you win, it's because you're good.
The blind read thing is so good. I really love that about Writers of the Future and other places that emulate that format with, particularly with it being a smallish industry, that they say, blind submitted stories or double blind submitted stories that you the personality is taken away. It's literally just the words. And again, on the page, we're all the same.
Yeah, because all the judges see is the story and a number. They have no idea if it's male, female, nationality, ethnic, nothing.
It's so good. And it just proves that it's all about, the mission that you guys have of, getting a new writer, a writer of the future. This is someone who's just getting out there. It levels the playing field tremendously. Mm-hmm. And, I find that was such an inspiration to me when I was an aspiring writer and I was entering. Just through sheer determination, I was like, I'm not giving up. And it was so encouraging to say, this one was pretty good. You got an honourable mention this quarter. A lot of people that take a tilt at the Writers of the Future. And I mean, Brad Torgerson, who was in the class I was in, he's got a couple of great blog posts that I would point anyone towards about, the value of winning the contest, all of that sort of stuff. And again, I believe that he was about to chuck in the towel with his own writing career. And it was sort of like a last-ditch thing for him, Writers of the Future. And I mean, look at him now. He's wonderful.
Yeah, we were just there in Atlanta at DragonCon when he won his award, the Dragon Award for Best Science Fiction Novel. It was amazing. And then the week later, we were in Salt Lake City at FanX, and he was pretty much staying at our booth full time. What he values the contest for is what you said. It's absolutely, it's about creating for that future, and you and all the other past winners and future winners are so important to the future of science fiction and fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we're all it goes back to the tradition of the bard and his apprentice.
Yeah.
There's someone you're teaching the stories to the next person, and they'll embellish it in their own way, and it's ever since that, just in human history, that's how we've communicated. That's how we've learnt storytelling. We've got it in our DNA. It's just in our wiring that we've got to tell stories. Even if we don't think we like stories, we do. Mm-hmm. Even people. Everyone has that sort of. Their eyes light up if they hear a juicy bit of gossip, or that's storytelling. What did that person say or do? And science fiction and fantasy just takes it to an amazing place. But it's the same. Yeah. Very, very human need that we all have. And I talk about you guys all the time, just how amazing the opportunity is. And it's definitely with all the writing workshops and things, it's particularly because it's an international thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff we miss out on in other countries that we were just sort of out of remove from these opportunities. You guys are everywhere. It's great.
Yeah, and then when you win, you get flown out. No matter where you're from, we fly you into Hollywood for the workshop. Now I'm just...
Oh, that was a rock star experience.
Yeah. I remember because you're the last person to leave that year. And I remember saying goodbye to you because like I said, you were the last person to leave. Everybody else had already gone home. And so I remember shaking your hand, as you were walking out, getting ready to go to the airport. Now, I do have a question. Now, on Spectrum, because you're especially equipped to handle people within the autism spectrum. So do you think that the Writers of the Future or its sister competition, Illustrators of the Future, is that something that would be of value for someone within that spectrum to be able to channel their creative talents?
Absolutely. I'd recommend it to anyone, but especially someone who is on the spectrum. I would say doubly so, because you know that you're going to get treated equally. You're going to get a very fair go with the words that you've got on your page.
Right.
More so than if you're these are the same guys that if it was a publishing convention and it was a chance to sit down with an agent or a publisher to pitch your idea, would fall short because of they don't have that. Everyone's different, of course, but generally that they don't have the capacity to do that social stuff.
Right.
Some of us just learn to fake it till you make it, myself included. But yeah, I would recommend anyone submit to Writers of the Future and Illustrators of the Future, and especially those amazing people that are a double threat and can do both. Do your story and illustrate. I guess separate years apply.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would recommend anyone do it. And, I would I would be back in a heartbeat if you guys would have me to help anyone that came along, especially if they're on the spectrum, to guide them through what's an amazing week, and, an amazing boost to anyone's creative career. So, get onto it. Send your stories in. Send your illustrations in. I still remember when I got my illustration. I've got it still hanging on the wall at home. And in fact, I'm thinking about getting it as a tattoo. It's just so amazing. It's just a beautiful image. Mine had the Minotaur and the ship and all the rest of it, and it just blew my mind. I'd had illustrations done before, but never that good.
Yeah.
And it just, and Seth won the Gold Award that year, and rightfully so. He just nailed it.
Yeah, no, it was a brilliant story that you had too. I love that. Was that was a great story, being a first place winner, and I really like that one a lot. Yeah,
so it's a favourite moment of mine. Just seeing that, and especially seeing it in the book, and just just the signing events that we had, and just amazing, Never forget it.
That's great.
It was wonderful.
So, any particular tips that you would have for the aspiring writer?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, you have to read widely. That's the thing, and of course, read the anthologies, because there's a lot of great essays, especially the one coming up with Sean's essay in it. I'll have to hunt down a copy and read that.
Yeah.
And Sean, just the judges, their wisdom. These are guys and girls that are just top of their field, and they've got really helpful stuff to say. And I begged, borrowed, and stole as many anthologies as I could find when I was entering the contest, and gobbled them up. There's lots of very helpful hints and tips from, and all this stuff from L. Ron Hubbard as well. This is these are historical documents for the full of great advice. So that's all very helpful to read, and of course you can see what kinds of stories are getting picked up that have come through as finalists, so it gives you a gauge of, and you should research where you want to send things anyway.
Yeah, you need to know your market for sure. For sure.
Know your market, yeah, absolutely. So, that's really good advice I would give to people. I'd probably recommend, if you're just starting out as a writer, try a bit of flash fiction first. Try and get your stories down in 500 to 1,000 words. I'm not sure what the minimum level of entry for Writers of the Future is. I think a bit longer than that.
Well, actually, we don't have a minimum. We just have a limit of 17,000 words. We've had one story win in the 36 years that was under 1,000 words, so it's not likely, based upon those odds. But
yeah, I would say start small and work your way up, and then come up with the great 17,000 word blockbuster and send it in.
Yeah. Good, yeah. So that's at writersofthefuture.com is where you can send it in. We also have this podcast, which, even though we've got it listed on probably 8 different podcast platforms, if you go to writersofthefuture.com and click on the podcast, you can click to any of the different podcast formats, and you can subscribe, because we have a new podcast every week. We also have the blog, where we have lots of different articles and essays from our judges and past winners and current industry professionals. And then there's the podcast, the blog, and we also have the forum, the Writers of the Future forum, which is something that's open to anybody. And we have past winners that are on the forum that will help answer questions and help give comments and critiques on your story. It's like-minded people who want to be able to just help people, succeed as a writer. So there's no judging. In fact, that's one of the requirements. If someone does get into judging or anything like that, they're immediately evicted from that forum. So the whole purpose is to help, the person who's got that dream of becoming a writer to realize that dream.
It's wonderful. I'll talk the forums up as well. I think they're a great service you guys provide, and real great sense of community on there.
Yeah.
Get on to good stuff.
Now, if someone wants to be able to find out more about you, how do they reach you? What do they do?
Yeah, excellent. So I'm online at, I've got a few things on the go. So my main website is jasonfischer.com.au, and that's spelt JASONFISCHER.com.au.
Uh-huh.
I'm also co-owner of Argonautica Press, which is Jason and the Argonauts, because I write with another Jason, so you're the Argonauts. So Argonautica Press is the new imprint that I'm releasing my own books under.
Mm-hmm.
So sort of the weird stuff that won't sell anywhere else, that's where that ends up. But but still good stuff. Yeah, the ones that are sort of like, we really like this, but don't know what to do with it. I'm like, I'll do it myself, whatever. So that's where those ones end up. And also spectrumwriting.com.au, which is the project to help writers on the autism spectrum. One of the fun things we have on that is we're also running a Dungeons and Dragons stream called ASD&D.
Wow. Yeah, I saw that at the bottom. I scrolled down and said, what's this? So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's another thing I'll tell writers is, get into role-playing games. Like, it's a great, brain starter for, creativity. Get into that. It's, it's a wonderful hobby to have anyway, regardless.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's great. Well, thank you very much, Jason. It's been a real pleasure being able to speak with you after all these years.
Yeah, likewise, John. Good to chat to you, mate. I'm really good to hear from you. And I really hope this podcast goes well. And, I hope that many, many people enter the competition because it's amazing. Do yourself a favor, hit send. It's worth it.
Thank you. And thank you very much for listening. This has been the Writers of the Future podcast. Writers of the Future is a contest created by L. Ron Hubbard to provide a means for the aspiring writer or artist to have a chance for their creative efforts to be seen and acknowledged. Writers of the Future podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts, or you can go to writersofthefuture.com and find it there, writersofthefuture.com/podcast. And thank you again very much, Jason. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, John, and thank you, everyone. Awesome.